Yeah, it's
Boom.
all right. I'll give them a minute to see if how long it takes people to get in. I guess I should probably add the channel. That would make sense.
They know by now.
Yeah, we've announced it enough. They should know it's coming.
Yeah, and this works out because I can look, so I can see we're starting with the AFC North, so I can go there and look at it as well. Golly, 7-1,
Ravens are
4-4,
good.
4-4, and 2-6. Yeah, I know. That's just
And expected. Steelers though. Ooh, that's another one I didn't expect.
yeah. I wrote about that today. I was like, you don't
Yeah,
want to.
I I just
You
read
don't.
there. You're
We
all
don't.
the
We don't want the Steelers to get the number one pick because if Lawrence gets there, that actually happened in my solo league, and Lawrence won MVP and Rookie of the Year, and it was a disaster. Okay, Kevin is here. What's up,
all
Kevin? Hope
right.
you're ready to not talk about the Panthers at all.
Yeah, we're gonna skip the Panthers and go straight to the Saints and talk about how their tank isn't working.
Yeah,
That's that's
we're trying, but considering like half the league is like 500 or worse, actually, it's
right.
probably more than that. But
I
if I
think there's only a
lose,
few teams. All
okay. All right. I think we got like two or three. I think we can probably just go ahead and get started.
right, guys. Welcome to the NFL GM League podcast. I'm Kyle, and this is Sam. The Dolphins and the Saints, respectively. We're going to go through each division one by one, give some breakdowns. So we're going to start with the AFC North. Ravens, obviously leading this division. Front runner Lamar Jackson for MVP. No surprise there.
Nope. And it's going to be kind of 20 where I know Will was always really salty about Harry Winter not getting MVP just because Lamar had so many rushing stats, and it's probably going to be the same way in this one.
Yeah.
Lamar's played really, really well. Holy cow, they've only allowed 159 points. That's like they almost have a positive 100 point differential. Like that's stupid. That's just stupid.
Well, and then you look, the Browns are +5, but then both these other teams just aren't really competing. Bengals are a surprise surge right now, but they could easily end up 5-11, 4-12.
Right.
They're
So
just
I really like the Bengals, what they've done this season. I wouldn't vote Cirilio for like GM of the year, but quietly that's been them and Nathan are my two teams that I just love what they've done this year. I love that they brought in Keenan Allen and still get to keep their current one. Like they got rid of Tyler Boyd, who I think is a little younger but a little bit worse overall. Giving Burrow that target and plus offloading AJ Green for picks just seems like a really good move considering how the Washington football team has played this season. So I
yeah,
really like what they've done. And then the Browns are whatever.
yeah. They've got Baker Mayfield. They're never going to win with Baker. I don't think. He's just not good
No.
enough in this man. Last Madden, you could do it. And then you look at the Steelers, 2-6. I
Yeah, I
don't know
wrote.
how, but
Yeah, I don't know. I wrote about this today that if the league does not want to see the Steelers get the number one pick just because they have that young infrastructure already there. Because I mean, you could even let's see what's Big Ben's penalty? Holy cow, it's 45 million. Okay, well, I thought it was going to be a little cheaper than that, but still, I mean, I feel like you could convince somebody in the offseason to trade for Big Ben, maybe, especially if you have a team that's like, picking whatever, like in the middle of the draft where they're not going to get the Lawrence Fields or even Trey Lance or somebody like that. It's like, hey, instead of reaching up for a QB, Like you can take Big Ben, who would be on a really cheap discount. So, but yeah, we Steelers don't really want to see them get the number one pick. Connor's 25 years old. At an 82, I feel like, I don't know. I know he was hurt a good bit last year, but I thought he was going to get a little bit better. Of course, Juju, 23 and an 87 overall. Steelers could go after another receiver. I mean, their number 2 is James Washington. He's, I'm going to coin your phrase. He's a guy.
Yeah. He's just a guy.
Yeah, he's just a guy. Abrams there. He's whatever. The offensive line is, actually, it's pretty good. Actually, outside of right tackle, they're actually pretty solid. And then the defense is not great, but I feel like the defense should be better considering they have, E.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Devin Bush,
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick. Minka's there. Let's see who that. Terrell Edmonds. So he's got a mix of like good overall guys with young guys. I guess if you want to criticize, I guess the corners, like they're all just kind of black. Like Joe Hayden's still his number 1 at 31 years old, so he's going to need to get better there. But yeah, this division I foresee this division in a couple of years, especially depending on where the Steelers pick. If they can get one of those 3 really good quarterbacks, I think this division is going to be super, super competitive.
One thing with Salsa, don't ever sleep on him picking a defender way earlier than you think he's gonna. He took a middle linebacker. He took a middle linebacker number 1 overall. So it wouldn't surprise me if Salsa reaches for a corner. Just saying, but
for sure. And this draft,
we'll move on to the
one last
South.
thing. This draft is filled with corners. So if he's gonna do it, this is a really good draft to do it.
So this is a super competitive division. Realistically, any one of these teams could still win the division. Maybe not the Jags because they're still throwing out Gardner Minshew. I'll never believe, despite what Blair says, that he's a good quarterback. So, Titans look really good though with a 50-point difference. I don't know how the Colts are so bad. They have a good team, but Lee is moving on to Eason.
Yeah, I said it.
Is what he said
today. I said it today, and it made Cody mad. I said the Colts had the best defense in the league, and I still stand by it.
I mean, you also wrote that Matt Breida is the best all-around back in the AFC East. So, I mean, that's not going to make Cody happy either.
No, and we'll get to him. He's been, like, I was looking at his numbers today, and I was like, how has this guy not gotten more buzz? But anyway, like I said it a couple minutes ago, Nathan has done, I think, one of the best jobs this season, getting Von Miller for, I'm not going to say a discount because I thought the trade was pretty fair, but to get Von and still have, still have his current 1, his current 3, and he has 2 6-round picks, which is, whatever, get some depth guys there. But to keep most of his current picks with this draft coming up, I think was just a really, really, really good job. And, he has Tannehill, whatever. It's so funny, Nathan going from the Chiefs last Madden to this one. It's like going to a completely different team because now he has, I would probably say, the best back in the league in terms of, overall with Derrick Henry. But I've just really, really enjoyed what he's done, and I expect the Titans to win the South just because the Colts have moved on to Eason, and the Texans are, I think the Texans are still being coached by Bill O'Brien. I don't get why they're 3-4, and then as long as Minshew's in Jacksonville, I mean they're gonna be in the tank race. So. But good job,
I think
Nathan.
the problem with the Texans is as in real life, they don't have a number 1 offensive weapon. They don't have anybody. You could say Will Fuller, he's good, but nobody there is consistent enough to win the battles every play. They got rid of D-Hop, and then he didn't make any moves to go get someone, whether it's a running back or a tight end or anyone, which is smart because he can get somebody in this draft.
Right.
You know.
And looking at his draft picks, he picked up, like he has Arizona's 4th, he has Miami's 6th, so he has your 6th. So it's like he has a 3rd round, 2 4s, a 5th, and 2 6. So I mean, not terrible. I mean, he's not going to get
right.
Like he's not going to get one of the top guys. But if I was him, I would probably use all those picks on offense and defensive line, and see maybe if like somebody lets an older weapon go in free agency. And we already have Cody saying Sam just keeps insulting the Patriots. Yeah, that's pretty much what this is going to be the entire time. It's like,
what did you think? You've got your division rival and somebody who likes to talk smack about you, Cody. Of course, we're going to talk bad about the Patriots.
Yeah, just wait till we get there.
Yeah. Lee is a great GM, but his team is old, and I don't think that they have a lot of pieces outside of Michael Pittman and Jonathan Taylor. That like he's got Quentin Nelson, but he's gonna need to get a true number 1 receiver across from Michael Pittman because T.Y. Hilton's old.
Yeah, I agree. And I was a little surprised he went to Eason. I'm not surprised he pulled Rivers. I would have done the same thing. I'm more shocked he didn't go with Madden Sim Goat Jacoby Brissett.
Is Brissett still Sim Goat in this one though?
I still think he's good. I haven't really checked. I know he was really good last year, but I mean, with his roster, I feel like he's built. I think he's kind of built a little like mine, where he could have, mailed it all in and gotten a ton of picks and built toward the future, or he could have like gone in win now mode, and I would have probably gone that route. Like I feel like you could have at least gotten something for Rivers. I don't think you would have gotten a ton, just because Rivers hasn't really played that well this Madden. Like, let's see, his stats are. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, five touchdowns, 14 interceptions. That's not good. But who knows when he pulled them? Like the sliders are a little bit lower now, so he could have performed a little better. Like I was looking at it, like kind of when the sliders changed is when Tua really kind of picked up his stride for you. It's when he really started playing a little better. So maybe somebody would have bit and gotten Phillip Rivers. But I'm just surprised he got Brissett. But yeah, like you said, this team's solid. I was a little surprised they weren't a little more active at the trade deadline. But they do have all their picks. They got some really solid young pieces as well. Yeah, they have all their picks for this year, and they could do something in the offseason to get more picks. So the Colts are in a good spot for now.
Curious, what do you think the Jags would do if they had the number 1 pick? Do they go Lawrence, or does Blair end up taking a weapon to build around Minshew? Because he really likes Minshew.
So I think Blair would do one of two things. I think he would take Lawrence, or I think he would trade the pick and try to get.
I agree with that.
And try to get more picks. Because I mean, to be fair to Blair, like he has an extra 2nd, 4th, 5th. He has Carolina's 6th this year. He's got 2 5ths next year, so he has a lot of picks, and his roster is just like it absolutely gutted. Like I think they have the youngest roster in the NFL, and it definitely shows. So if I was him, I think it would be really smart if he doesn't want to take one of the QBs to definitely trade the pick. But it's Blair. Who knows? I could also see him taking that defensive end from Miami, because Blair also really likes taking defensive players as well. So I could see that
For
happening.
sure. For sure. And especially, he does need to replace Yannick, and he also has to find some corners. Like you said, though, this is a good draft to need corners.
Yep.
I did like the move Blair made to get John Johnson. I thought he gave up a little much. But
yeah,
I like John Johnson, and he's a good player in Madden Sims.
yeah, I agree. I thought it was an overpay a little bit, but I get it. He also signed him to a long-term deal, and I thought that was a steal for what he got. I think safeties in general in Madden are a little underpaid more than they are in real life, so that's really nice. But if you just look at Blair's roster, it's like people are 22, 23. Like it's crazy how young his roster is. So I'll be interested to see if like I don't know how many rookies he's starting, but if he can get like a rookie or two on the all rookie team, like that would be huge going forward. And of course he still has I just saw him. John Johnson, like you said, he's only 24 and just got paid, so I think he's actually in a good spot. Yeah, and Miles Jack. So I think Blair's in a good spot.
I think Shark is an underrated receiver in Madden. He's a guy who, given the right quarterback, could bump up to superstar.
Yeah, and that's why if I was him, I would just take a QB and just go. Like I think Shark becomes that much better. And I wrote about it earlier today. Like if you take a QB, I feel like you could convince somebody to take a chance on Minshew, because I mean, he slings it around the yard. I mean, the sliders definitely don't help him. But if you put a lot of weapons, I mean, like over the first half of the year, Denver had a top 10 passing offense, and Locke had almost 10 more interceptions and touchdowns.
Right. So, all right. Well, we'll move on to the AFC East, where we can talk a lot of bad things about Cody's team. This is a two-team race, realistically. It's Pats and Jets. Bills are definitely in contention for a wild card spot, but it's the Pats and the Jets. And it's not even close.
No. We'll just get this out of the way. What Cody's done with this roster, especially in the trade market, is just... I mean, we've come to expect this. Cody, keeping his current one in both seconds and getting really good young defensive tackle, and also getting Marvin Jones, who plays really well this Madden. I played Vince when Marvin was still a Lion, and he mossed me twice, and I was like, who is this guy? Like if I ever saw Marvin Jones do this in a real game, I would still be shocked, much less, Madden. But Cam's played really, really well. Wyrick, of course, is who everybody wants to talk about. And he's just an absolute stud. Probably, I don't know. Is it too early to say, like, if Wyrick stays healthy, like, he might break all the rushing records? Like, I don't think it's inconceivable.
I think that Wyrick has slowed down the last few weeks, and injuries have caught up to him, but he was on pace for 2,500 yards rushing before he started getting hurt. So no, I don't think it's too soon. And don't forget though that Cody was kind of complaining that he picked Wyrick as his legacy player earlier.
Never forget.
Because he had a million running backs. And then he went out with Wyrick and signed Geis, which he has to pay Geis. He gave him fully guaranteed. So...
Yeah, but knowing Cody, he's going to get somebody to take Geis. I mean, I have zero doubts about that.
Oh, for sure. Again, this is a disclaimer to everyone in the league. Don't trade with Cody. He's going to rip you off.
Yeah.
He's going to win that trade.
I guess
I've made one trade with Cody in 2 years of Madden. So.
Yeah. Cody killed me in Madden 19 when I traded that running back to him. And then in Madden
yeah.
20, I traded him Deshaun Watson, which, to be fair, everybody's like, oh, you, like, Cody won that trade. I still feel like I got really good value out of it. I got the corner, I got Andrew Bell, and he was on my team for 80% of that Madden run and was an X factor the whole time. So I still feel like I did pretty well. But anyway, if you want to nitpick
Cody and
Cody's
Jim
roster,
were the only people
yeah,
who got Deshaun to play well.
yeah. If you want to nitpick this roster a little bit, his receivers are old. I know we talked about Marvin Jones, but he's 30. Julian Edelman is 34. Sanu's 31. He does have N'Keal Harry, who I know he's playing at least a little bit, but I think that's where Cody's going to have to try to improve. And then Cam. I mean, Cam's, not exactly a spring chicken, so I don't know what he's going to do at quarterback down the road. But I could see Cody taking like someone like Sam Ehlinger this draft and turning him into like offensive rookie of the year, and then before you know it, Sam Ehlinger is a 75 superstar dev,
right?
That at 22 or 23, and we're just like, oh, here we go. Like Cody's done it again.
Cody has a ton of picks. I said
it
in his breakdown. I think that Cody, he mentioned re-signing Cam. I don't know. If I was Cody, if somebody like Blair or even me, if I have the number one pick, Cody needs to reach out and try to get Lawrence or Fields. I think it would be Fields for Cody, but
yeah, I would agree.
We'll see.
So moving on to the Jets, who are 6-3. This roster is also really good. Pode's done a really good job. Drew Brees, he got him from me for pretty cheap, just because I wasn't gonna play him anyway, and he's
right
41. He regresses a little bit. I think after his first year, he goes to like an 88 overall, which still isn't bad. I haven't done a sim yet with the Saints where he retires after the first year, so Pode should be in pretty good shape for next year as well. Bell is okay. Last time I checked, he was still averaging less than 4 yards a carry, and that's honestly probably because the Jets' offensive line is awful. Like, they're just really, really bad. But he did go out and get Cooper Kupp, which was really good. Signed him to an extension as well, I believe. So he has him and Crowder and Westbrook as his receivers, and that's a good three.
That's a really
for the
good
first couple of years. And then his legacy player was Spade, the tight end, who let's see what he's done so far this year. I know Pode was just raving about him, so I would hope he at least he's had a pretty good year. He's done okay. 11 catches for 128 yards. So he's whatever, I guess. He's just a guy, like we like to talk about.
Yep.
The offensive line is, like we said, is a concern, to put it lightly.
Put it politely.
Yeah. The defense is pretty good. He has Quentin Williams, who's hurt right now, but he's obviously a stud. Oh, yeah, he got Clowney as well. I forgot about that. Wow, he's paying Clowney a lot of money. That's right.
Yep.
I totally forgot about that.
And he picked up Van Noy from me.
Yeah. Yeah, so his defense
Van Noy
is solid.
Is at the top of the defense, or he's 1 or 2 in Defensive Player of the Year. So Van Noy's been performing for Pode really well.
Yeah. His corners as well are old, and then older, I guess. He is Marcus May, 27, Brian Poole, who's 27. They're both 81 overalls. Pierre Desir, however you pronounce his last name, is 29 at 82. So it's fine for this year, but I could see him definitely upgrading that position this draft. I also traded in Marcus Williams. I forgot about that.
Yep, I was gonna say, I know he has somebody at safety. I just couldn't remember who it was. Pode's done a good job. Pode's another guy who does really well. Trading and drafting.
Yeah, this year he's only got a fifth, sixth, and seventh. But I mean, he's got two firsts next year and a second. So combine that with free agency, I think his team is going to be good for at least the next couple of years. Once Breeze retires, then he'll have some questions to answer. But Hode's really good at doing things on the fly. He's also a solid GM as well.
Yeah. I also want to point out Cody has a 110 point differential. Jeez.
Well, that's what happens when you play the well. Your division. Well, I was gonna say your division isn't even that bad. Like it's way better than it is in real life.
He definitely beat the Dolphins 54-0 the first week though, so those numbers are a little skewed.
That's fair.
So Sean hasn't made a lot of moves yet, but
right.
The Bills have a solid roster.
Yeah. Josh Allen is. Gosh, I don't know. Yeah, as a real life Bills fan, watching the game yesterday and seeing the meme of Josh Allen overthrowing the wide open receiver in the end zone, I was like, I always say that I feel like Madden does Josh Allen a disservice, but I'm really not sure anymore. I think it might actually be more fair than we think. He's had an okay year. Let's see pull up his stats for this year.
And he did sit a game.
Yeah, he did sit. He's got 8 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. So I mean, not terrible considering we have multiple QBs who have like almost a 1-to-2 touchdown interception ratio. He's also got let's see. He's only been sacked 20 times, which that's not terrible. He's completing 61% of his passes. That's honestly probably on the top end of where Josh Allen is going to be.
Yeah, he's going to be between 55 and 62, 63 in real life, probably.
Yeah, and Sean also has, Singletary, who I like, and Zach Moss. So he's pretty good at the running back position. Receiver, obviously. I know we put Diggs on the trade block. But then pulled him pretty. He pulled him pretty quick. That was.
I think Sean was a little upset with that first game where they, because I'm fairly certain Poe handled him pretty easily that first week.
Yeah, but outside of Diggs, you have, John Brown and Cole Beasley, who were better in real life than they're going to be in Madden. So he's probably going to have to address that situation at some point. I have Tyler Croft. I don't know. I don't know if he's starting Dawson Knox or not. I probably would. I mean, he's 87 speed.
He's starting Knox. Knox had a fairly decent game against me. It was something like 5 for 60 or something.
Okay.
So,
he's got Deion Dawkins at left tackle, who I think is being, he didn't sign this contract, but at 26 and 78 overall, normal dev, that's, I would say, an overpay for sure for what you're getting there. I mean, Quentin Spain is whatever. Mitch Morse is good. Brian Winters is good. And then Ty Nishk is, bad, but he's probably starting Cody Ford, I would assume, right? I haven't looked.
I would hope.
Yeah.
I haven't looked either. I would hope that he's starting Cody Ford.
Yeah, and then what's surprising the most to me is the pass defense is bottom 5 in the league, when in real life they have like a top 3 unit in that area.
Right.
So that's kind of surprising. So I don't know if it's just the scheme or playbook. He just hasn't found that sweet spot yet. But the Bills are just getting obliterated in the passing game. It's just not pretty.
Yeah. Yeah, Trey White leads the league in interceptions, though. He does have 6.
Okay.
But yeah, Sean's got some work to do. He definitely has some holes that he can fill, but I don't think he traded any of his picks, so he should be pretty good for this draft.
Yeah, the last thing I'll say about the Bills is that, Sean has Tremaine Edmonds in his legacy player, Jaleel Holmes, who they're both good. So his linebacking core is going to be good for a while if he keeps them together. Obviously, his secondary is supposed to be really good. And he did keep all his picks. He has first through third and 2 fifths and a sixth this year.
Yeah, that's not bad.
No, it's really not. And he can pick up, like, he'll be able to pick up a receiver in like the 3rd or 5th round. That's still going to be good because this receiver draft is deep as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So let's get the somehow 3-win Dolphins.
Yep.
We had a stretch there that was surprisingly easy. No Herbert for the Chargers. Hurt them.
Also, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry for that.
The Rams, who decided to start Deshaun Kaiser.
Did he really?
Yeah, he started, and he still almost won that game. That was...
Corb, if you're in the chat, J Corb, is your plan to start a different guy every game? Because like I think that's his 4th or 5th different starter this year so far.
I think because he went on a 4-game win streak, and I think he really didn't want to win any more games.
No, he's out of the tank race for now. I was like, I was very surprised. Like I wrote in episode 1, he was like 3 or 2-4 or something like that, or 2-2, and he had like his quarterbacks had not thrown a passing touchdown yet.
Right.
I was like, that's incredible. Yeah. But I think the big thing for you is Tua's improvement. You might say otherwise, but like I looked at one point and Tua, I believe, had like 1 touchdown and 8 interceptions, and this was early on in the year, and now he's sitting at 10 and 14.
Yeah. Tua definitely had a stretch. It was the first 3 games. He threw 1 touchdown, and I think it was something like 10 interceptions. And then he had a stretch. He didn't throw any, and then he threw 3 against the Cardinals last night, which I can't wait to talk about the Cardinals because I think they might be one of the best teams in the league right now. But Matt Breida has been an all-around stud. He's leading the NFL in receptions.
Yep.
From the running back position. He's leading my team in both rushing and receiving yards. I said it last night to Cody. I think that Breida might be the best running back in the AFC East right now, just because he's complete. Wyrick is definitely a better runner than
for sure
than Breida.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to get the point across is when you have your running back leading your team in receiving and rushing yards, and his name is not Alvin Kamara. Like that's really impressive.
Or C-Mac.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey. Like if it's not one of those, if it's not one of those 2 guys, Breida. It's a lot of checkdowns because I don't have any receivers right now.
Yeah, I was about to point that out. I'm surprised Tua has over 2,000 passing yards when your group consists of Albert Wilson, Jakeem Grant, and Allen Hurns. Because I forgot, I was like, where's Devontae Parker? And I was like, oh yeah, he traded him to Will, right? Like I think that's where he ended up. You could argue that Mike Gesicki is your top pass catcher to be
he definitely
top receiver.
Yeah, he's definitely my top receiver. I wasn't even. If Gary Ward didn't get hurt, Albert Wilson wouldn't even be on the field. He got hurt. I have no intention of. Albert Wilson wants something like $17 million for the next 3 years, and I'm just not going to pay that to a guy who's going to regress.
No. Jay Cord points out in the chat that Cam Akers leads the Rams in rushing and receiving yards as well, which, I mean, if we're talking about the Rams receiving yards, me and you are on that list too. So I don't know how impressive that is, but it is, it is impressive for a running back for sure. Looking for that superstar dev, says Jay Corb. Yeah, that could definitely happen. What, man, your offensive line is bad outside of your legacy player. Oh,
and even he's when I looked at the Dolphins offensive line after I picked them, I was like, I may have made a mistake. Because I did not really, because they had a lot of young guys. I figured, they took a first round tackle in Austin Jackson last year. I figured Madden would be nice and give him a a 70. Nope, 67 overall, 66. So, yeah, I have a lot of work to do on the offensive line for this team. It is probably the worst outside of maybe the Rams.
Kevin politely points out that I forgot about Christian McCaffrey. You're right, Kevin. I'm sorry. That's on me.
I brought it up.
Yeah.
I covered for you.
I'll say this. The defense is just bad, and we don't even have to talk about it. Last in the league in passing and rushing yards per game. And I mean, to be fair to you, when you play the Jets and Pats twice, that's gonna happen. And also the Bills, who are quietly top 10 in rushing yards per game. So if you look at it like that, it's not too surprising. I mean, the big thing for you though is you have 3 firsts this year. 4 seconds this year. That's nice.
Yep. I have a bunch of picks this year.
Yeah, that's really nice. So I mean, even in the second round, you're going to be able to get guys. You could realistically draft 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, potentially 7 new starters, maybe even more for next season.
That's that's the hope.
Yeah, especially at receiver. I would expect you to take at least 1 or 2 guys.
Yeah, 2 is the plan. The one thing I'll say about my defense is it's quietly in the top 10 in sacks.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
That's the only place that. And last night, Shaq Lawson got superstar dev against the Cardinals in the first quarter. He had 3 sacks in the first quarter. But the defense is bad. I have 1 corner who's worth anything in Byron Jones, and the only reason I didn't trade him is I didn't want to eat $65 million in cap penalty.
Yeah, I was thinking I wasn't sure if you were going to trade Byron Jones or not. I kind of leaned toward no because of that.
Yeah.
Vince points out, going back to the running backs, DeAndre Swift is decidedly not leading the team in rushing and receiving. What you don't know, Vince, is that we actually edited DeAndre Swift. His catching is now 0 to reflect what it is in real life. So we're just trying to really be as realistic as possible. So I hope you don't plan on throwing to Swift.
So the Dolphins are what the Dolphins are. They'll probably win a couple more games just to screw me out of a top 5 pick, but we'll see.
You'll end up with 7.
Right, something in there. AFC West is an ugly, ugly division.
Boy, that division is gross. Gross.
Not a single team with a winning record right now, and I said when I broke down the Chargers, I said they are leading the division. They will not win this division with Herbert out. Tyrod Taylor is terrible.
Yep.
Phil, cut Tyrod Taylor right now. Sign anyone off the street. Go the J. Corb route and start a different quarterback every week, whatever you have to do.
Yep.
But the Chiefs lost to the Panthers last night. Thanks, Paul, for losing to them, but I'm sorry also.
Yeah, moment of silence for the Chiefs losing against the Panthers. What is that? How does that happen? I don't. Well, I'll tell you how it happens when your defense is bad, and their defense is bad. Right. And I don't I kind of get it because they have 4 guys on defense that are any good, and the rest are super young. So it kind of it kind of makes sense. But I mean, Mahomes is second in MVP. He's gonna put up stats for you.
Right.
And I don't know how Elaire is doing for him. I'm gonna check. Let's see.
Well, you look that up. He does have 299 overall speed, or 299 speeds receivers in Hardman and Tyreek right now. So you're welcome, Paul, for the wheel giving you that.
Yeah. Okay, so Elaire has 483 yards and 4 touchdowns, averaging 3.5 yards a carry. Yeah, I mean, when you think of the Chiefs, they're not going to run the ball. Even though Elaire had that great week 1 performance against Houston, but he's averaging less than 55 yards a game, which that kind of seems about right. Hasn't fumbled, which is great. He's also caught 9 balls for 116 yards and a touchdown. So
That seems a
overall,
little low for the
yeah,
Chiefs, though, because
yeah, it does. But like you said, the receivers are great. He's eventually gonna have to, repay Hill, but I think he's under contract for a while, so he's probably good there. And then he has Watkins, who's an 82, which feels a little high. He's got that Madden bump for some reason.
Because Watkins will come out in real life and have a game every few weeks where he just looks like the best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah,
but then he'll
true.
come back to earth and have 6 or 7 games where he looks like one of the worst receivers in the NFL. So,
yeah, my bold prediction is that I don't think Travis Kelce is on this team next season. I think
I know for a fact that Paul wanted to get rid of Travis Kelce this season, and I will say I know that because he offered me Travis Kelce for Mike Gesicki and Noah Igbenogany.
Ibbenaghi,
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that Paul does not want Travis Kelce on this team anymore, so that would not surprise me.
Yeah, I don't blame him. He's had at least 1,000 drops this year, so I would be frustrated with Travis Kelce as well. The offensive line is it's okay. Like, Mitchell Schwartz is the only really good player on that offensive line, but when you have Mahomes, it doesn't really matter. And then
he's got improviser, so
yeah, that's true.
He's gonna run.
Yeah, and on the defense, he's got Frank Clark, Chris Jones, and a bunch of young guys. He picked up. He's the one that got Earl Thomas, and he also has the Honey Badger.
Matthew. Yep.
Yeah. So the back end of that defense is good, but other than that, it's like it's okay. I think they're like 29th and 28th, respectively, in the league. So when you're paying Mahomes that much money, your defense is going to suffer. And I like Ibbenogany, obviously. He's an Auburn guy. I'm an Auburn guy. He's
right.
In fact, he's the youngest Dolphins player to get featured in a game at like 20 years, 200 and whatever days old. So that was pretty cool. Little side note there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are going to be good. They're going to win the division just because Herbert's hurt, the Raiders stink, and the Broncos are just a dumpster fire. And that team's going to get better. Going to the Chargers. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
My bold prediction going forward is I think the Chargers end up winning more division championships than the Chiefs.
Yeah, I like that. And then the last thing before we go to the Chargers, Paul does have most of his picks. He doesn't have a 3rd or a 6th round this year. So I would expect for him to go defense with most of these picks. It would be a shock to me if he did anything otherwise. So this Chiefs defense should be better next year.
The Chargers have a really solid team, minus now they don't have Keenan Allen or Hunter Henry, but he did add O.J. Howard. And I like O.J. Howard in Madden more than... And, I mean, O.J. played really well yesterday with Tom Brady instead of Jameis Winston, because Brady actually knows how to throw to a tight end every now and then, but I digress. The Herbert injury really derailed Phil here.
That was a tough one, and I felt bad because it came against me. And as soon as Herbert took off, because he already ran like 5 or 6 times at that point, and in my head I was like, he's gonna get hurt if he keeps doing it. And then that play, he got hurt, and I was like, oh, that sucks, because he'd actually been playing pretty well up to that point. I feel like it would have been a 2-man race between him and Chris's QB, I feel like, for Offensive Rookie of the Year, because before Herbert went down, he had 5 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, but he was completing 71% of his passes, and with the new sliders, that was definitely going to help Herbert out a whole lot. But this team's really solid moving forward. Eckler is good at running back. I actually even like Justin Jackson a good bit. I feel like he could start on quite a few teams in this league and play pretty well. He got Tyler Boyd back, so now he has Tyler Boyd, Mike Williams, and J.J. Whiteside as his top
Oh,
three,
yeah, I
which
forgot he
is
traded for...
yeah, which it's okay. They're all young, so they're going to develop along with Herbert, and like you said, he has OJ Howard. His offensive line
is
is
bad on the
they're the
left
worst.
side.
They're the worst in the league.
That
And
Go to the right side. The right side gets a little bit better because he does have
yeah,
Bulaga,
right.
but that left side of the line. When I did the state of the franchise, when Forrest Lamp got drafted, he was like a 75 in Madden, and now that he's in the high 60s, like Phil has to address that in the offseason. 100%.
I think he will. And before we get to the picks, the defense is where, he's in really good shape. Phil's got Bosa. He's got
Nobody
Gerald
at right
McCoy,
end.
He's got Linval Joseph and Gerald McCoy. Those guys will regress pretty bad. Who knows if they'll be on the team next year? I don't really remember if Joseph is under contract for more than this year. But
it's one more year.
Is it one more year? Okay. He's got Nwosu at left outside linebacker. He's young. He's 23 and 79 with star dev, so he's pretty good. Kenneth Murray Jr. is a rookie. He's only 21 at 74. He's star dev as well. So his linebacking core is pretty good. His corners are good. He's got Desmond King, Sidney Jones, and his looks like his legacy player in Jarek Tyson. So he's got pretty good corners. Free safety, Rashawn Jenkins is whatever. And then Derwin James is the prize here.
Right.
That dude was just a god in Madden 20. Like, I swear, every time he hit somebody, he would make them fumble.
Yep.
And it was just... I think Derwin James was reason numero uno. We were thinking about not having abilities this Madden. It's because that dude is just vicious. But this team is set for the long haul. And you look at this, like Phil's got 1, 2, 3, 4 seconds this year. 2 of them potentially could be pretty good. He's got Cincinnati's second, and he's got Atlanta's second, depending on how Oscar does down the stretch. But his first is going to be good this year.
So one thing Sorelio just put in the general chat of Slack, a sad face with the Bengals could finish 5-11. I'm sorry, Sorelio, they could. It's possible.
Could. I'll tell you this. I don't think they will.
I don't think they will either.
Like this team.
I think they're going to be 7-9, 8-8, and make the playoffs. I just was giving you the wide range because Madden's weird, but yeah, Phil's got a lot of picks that he could do a lot of things with.
For sure. Going to the Raiders, who, like, they're just your stereotypical bad team. Like, they're in the bottom third of the league in every offense and defense category. Like, it's just not good. Like, Derek Carr is just bad. Like Josh Jacobs.
Marcus Mariota is also bad.
Team. Yeah, like Josh Jacobs is 22 at an 89 overall and superstar dev. So that's literally the only thing that's good about this team. Oh, Ruggs. Let's see what Ruggs has done this year. Guess what? Not very much. 18 receptions, 226 yards, 0 touchdowns. But to be fair,
Nolsta just loves his mediocre quarterbacks. So because this is the second year he's picked the Raiders, and he was the Titans before that. So as I said when I wrote up his thing, he loves to take these mediocre quarterbacks and then not win with them. And then he didn't last Madden. He didn't draft a good quarterback. He ran out a guy who got a Heron Award, which is how he got star dev, and he ended up being okay. But Nolsta, if you finish with a top pick, take a quarterback. I'm telling you, that's what you have to do. You have talent on that offense. Or don't. And be bad.
Yeah. He's got Darren Waller as well, who one of those guys had a really good year last year in real life. Had a good week 1 as well. So he got that Madden bump as well in 86.
Yeah.
The offensive line is, Richie Incognito is a 90. I don't understand that. Rodney Hudson's a 93. That makes a little more sense. Like, the offensive line, it's not a bad offensive line, which is probably why Jacobs has played really well. But then the defense is just, boy, you got a lot of guys who are just blah. Like, just
Yeah,
you just wouldn't want.
well,
like his legacy player, Brock Holland, that linebacker, is okay. Like, he's got 26 tackles, a sack, a deflection. He's got one forced fumble, so he's okay. Like, I don't know. This is just a bad team, and like, we can talk about it all we want. Like, there's just no way around it. Like, this team is bad, and let's see how many picks he has. He's got a decent amount of picks this year. He's got his first, second, third, no fourth, but he has 2 sevenths, so he can get some depth there. He's got all his picks for next year too. So this is definitely a multi-year project with the Raiders.
Oh, for sure. And he's hamstrung a little bit that John Gruden doesn't know how to draft defensive players, and never has. Sure. So in real life, John Gruden's never drafted a good defensive player. So I feel for him, but he hasn't. He took over a Bucs team that had a great defense, and then one of his first defensive draft picks was Barrett Rudd, who I don't think anybody outside of Buccaneers fans remembers. So maybe some Nebraska fans out there.
Just as a quick side note, Roy makes just the best memes. Like, I have friends in real life who try to make memes and they're stupid. Roy is like actually good at making memes. And
Roy's memes are fire. Like,
yeah, and we'll get to his team, but like, I think Roy is like just as good of a GM as he is a meme creator, and that's just a really dangerous combination. But going to the Broncos, oh my gosh, like, just like I said it.
Oh, that's the other team I beat was the Broncos.
Yeah, what's crazy is I enjoy watching them play because they put up points. Like, they're going to lose, but, like, Drew Lock just slings it down the field, which is just really fun to watch.
For, like, 400 against me? It was something like 4, and he had multiple 80-yard passes. Like, he was just... And I don't get it, because this team has talent, and outside of trading Von Miller, they still have a lot of... I mean, his wide receiver core might be the best young core in the league.
Yeah. Drew Lock has already passed for over 2,100 yards this season, and 11 touchdowns, 13 picks, completing 62% of his passes. So the sliders have helped him a good bit as well. And I really like his offense. Like, he has good offensive players. Like, I feel like Lindsey and Gordon are the best 1-2 running back punch in the league, more than likely.
So one thing with that is he needs to get Gordon out on passing downs, because Gordon cannot catch in this game. Against me, Gordon dropped like 5 or 6 passes in a row. So put Lindsey in there, let him, but...
Yeah, the receiving core, like you said, is really good. His oldest receiver is Tim Patrick at 26 years old, who he's not playing. But like, Sutton and Judy are just nasty. And
2 superstar receivers.
Yeah, and then Fant, who's 22 with a 74 overall. He's got 89 speed, so it's no shock that Drew Lock has been able to just throw it down the field. And the offensive line is young. And outside of DeMar Dobson in Denver, they're all young, but they're also like not really good. So that could play a part of why they're bad running the ball. And then the defense, I really like that they got rid of Von Miller. They had no use for him. Like, he wasn't.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
He was just going to waste. Yeah, he was going to waste away on this team, and his trade value was only going to get lower from this season. So it was a really good move by him and by Nathan to go ahead and make that trade. And he has Jarrell Casey, who's old, Marcel Darius. no one really on the defense really gets you excited outside of Bradley Chubb. And I guess Justin Simmons as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
but outside of that, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not.
He's got his pick, which I think, this is just me, I actually believe in Drew Lock. So if I was the Broncos, I would probably trade the pick if it ends up being in the top 3, and you have somebody
or he could take a Surtain or a
sure
Rosso from. But if he can get good value from it, which he should be able to, I'm gonna say right now, if you trade a top 3 pick, you better be getting multiple firsts and multiple seconds back.
Right, and I feel like in this draft, a lot of the quarterbacks, like at least 3 quarters, like we could have a quarterback go 1, 2, 3, and
for sure,
and Lawrence Lance and Trey Lance and Justin Fields. It wouldn't surprise me one bit. So I feel like some of those guys that might be ranked really high could fall just because of the fact that so many teams need quarterbacks.
Right.
So if I was him, I would probably trade back. But that's just me. I love trading back.
It's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah, I traded back too much in Madden 19, but I actually didn't do it in 20, and that really helps. But yeah, Denver's got 2 seconds this year. Their first, of course, 2 sevenths as well. They have 2 firsts next year, which is interesting because he has Tennessee's first. So depending on how that division goes, I mean, if the Colts get a lot better and the Texans get better, I could foresee Tennessee missing the playoffs and that pick becoming like the 12th to 16th pick in the draft. And that's like a real thing. Like that's a legit asset to have. And he's also got 2/3 next year as well. So overall, like the Raiders, this team's a project, but I feel a lot better about Denver than about Oakland.
For sure. I think that the Broncos are bad because Madden, the sliders and a lot of things. The Raiders are just bad because they're bad.
Right.
So.
Okay. I think that's all the AFC, right?
It is. We're going to the NFC North, where Will is going to win.
Conference.
Will is going to win this division, and it hurts me because I really want Will to lose some games.
Yeah, well, if he can, to be fair, it's hard. It's hard to lose games when you have the Bears and Lions who are trying to actively tank, and I don't really know what the Vikings are trying to do. Like, they shouldn't be 3-4 bad, but here we are. So Will's going to lock this up pretty easily. And also, to be fair to Will, he's done a lot of really good.
He's done
a lot of really good moves this year. He's done a really good job.
You're welcome.
Building off of his 49ers run in Madden 20.
He's been a lot more active in the trade market this Madden than he was last Madden. So
he's got Rodgers, who he's his voice has
every week
concerns.
Every week he wants to start. Hey guys, should I start Jordan Love? No, Will. No.
Well, it's honestly like in real life with the Packers.
Right.
Like, it's like, hey, maybe we should start Jordan Love. Oh, Rodgers is going to come out and throw 4 touchdowns against the Vikings and just go completely FU mode. He's got Rodgers, and Aaron Jones is one of those guys. I feel like he plays way better in real life than he does in Madden.
He's not even starting for Will. He's been starting A.J. Dillon.
Oh, has he? To try to get that? I don't blame him there, trying to get that dev for Dillon.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And Jones is only he was only averaging 3.8 yards a carry anyway, so I can't really fault Will for that. Because I like A.J. Dillon a lot. I actually watched quite a few of his Boston College games, and I was like, oh wow, like that guy's actually good.
He's a guy I felt like he was in college forever though. Like I remember hearing about him 3 years ago, and so I was like, isn't this guy like 40 now?
Yeah,
but
he's gotten.
He wasn't.
This is crazy. He's gotten 69 rushes this year. Nice. He's got 7 touchdowns. Like, he's averaging a touchdown 10% of the time, which is crazy.
Yeah, so
The passing game is whatever. He's not really known for that. Only has 3 receptions on the year so far, but that's not really what you brought him in for. He's that kind of
right.
old school bell cow back where you bring him in the first 2 downs, and then you have like Jamal Williams on 3rd down come catch a pass for you. But his receiving core is really, really good. He's got Devontae Adams, Robert Woods, and Devontae Parker as his top 3, and also 23-year-old Preston Williams as his number 4. So I would say Will probably has the best receiving core in the league. And
yeah, I would say.
Those guys aren't going to regress for another at least 3 seasons. Woods might regress in 2 once he hits 30. Like, even then, like I imagine Parker will eventually overtake Woods as the wide receiver 2 anyway, so that doesn't really matter.
Right.
And then who is Will starting at tight end?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'll look real quick. Let me take a look.
Okay, I'll talk while you do that. He's got Lewis, who is like a 75 overall, but he's 36. He's got a 23-year-old Sternberger from Texas A&M, who's got.
He's starting Sternberger.
Okay, good. I could see him possibly taking a tight end this draft because Sternberger is okay.
Yeah, Will's definitely going to be
Jonathan Stewart.
Shut up, Kevin.
Yeah,
that had to be Kevin, right?
Yeah, of course. Who else is going to mention a Panthers player?
Okay, I was like, I'll feel really bad if it was Corb or someone, but it had to be Kevin.
No, like the only people who talk about the Panthers are Panthers fans. Nobody else really cares about the Panthers.
Sometimes I'm a Bucs fan, and sometimes I forget they exist with their 0 Super Bowl wins.
Yeah, Will's line is pretty good. I think you've gone over it when you did the State of the Franchise with him. His line is good. You know, Ron Swanson, arguably the best tackle in the league, and it's not even close.
Yeah, sure.
And then his defense is good. You know, K'Wan Short is good. Kenny Clark is a monster. Zadarius Smith is good. Avery Williamson is good. Will's going to be good for, I would probably say, 3 to 4 years. I think what is going to determine how good Will is that going from that transition from Rodgers to Love.
Cap situation might get a little out of hand.
True.
Because he's gonna have to pay Alexander soon.
Yep. Yeah, he is.
But getting Rodgers off.
Yeah. He's got Savage, who I thought was a little better than 77.
Yeah, I thought Savage was better than that too. And then when I did the State of the Franchise, that was one of the shock when I got there. I was like, really? And I think he might be normal dev.
He's got star, which that seems about right. In terms of Will's picks, you already went over this. He's got 2 4s, 2 5s, a 6th, and a 7th. So, you know, he might get 1 starter, maybe, out of that at a position.
He might be able to package those 4ths and get up to, and maybe a 5th and get up into the late 2nd if he likes somebody a lot.
Yeah. I agree, but he doesn't really need a whole lot, so I can see him also just, unless he lets like one of the older offensive or defensive linemen go, and he just needs a body.
Right.
That's about all I can see there. You want to move on to the Vikings, unless you have anything else.
Absolutely.
About Will. Good job, Will. You're making us proud.
Yeah, Will. I like the trades you've made, mostly because you gave me a lot of picks, so I appreciate it. Vikings, they got to get rid of Kirk Cousins, but they can't because that penalty is ridiculous.
Gosh, $61 million.
Yeah, I'm Vikings in another GM league, and I'm like, oh my god, I don't want to start him, but I don't have anybody else, and
That's horrible.
But it's only
like that.
It's only a couple years, so. But
Yeah.
he's a guy who's
thankfully,
way overpaid.
Yeah, I don't even know what he's. Let's see what he's done this year. I'll look it up. See what his stats look like for this year.
Watching the game yesterday, Packers and Vikings, he threw 4 passes in the first half, and one of them was an interception. So,
yeah, he's got 12 picks. He's got 12 touchdowns, 11 picks, just over 1,600 yards passing, completing 64%. So, the thing that's worrisome to me is his yards per attempt is less than 7. It's at 6.6. So, that tells me he's been like dinking and dunking a lot, which that is not great. That's kind of what my team does as well, and it's just kind of frustrating to watch. But then you're like, man, I wish Jameis threw it more. And then he threw 3 interceptions today because he was throwing long. So you're like, maybe we should just go back to dinking and dunking and just live with it.
If we could go back to where we only throw short passes, that'd be great.
Yeah. Thankfully, the Vikings have Dalvin Cook, who's just a monster. And there's no really other way to put it. X Factor, which is awesome. Let's see. He's averaging almost 5 yards a carry. He only has 3 touchdowns on the year, which is a little surprising. But let's see how many receiving yards he has. Oh, that's a little more than I thought. He's got over 200 receiving yards, which you don't really think of him as a receiving back.
Right. Dinking and dunking it, though, so he's going to get...
Yeah, he's going to get more. That's for sure. His receiver situation, he's got Thielen, who's old, but still pretty good. Justin Jefferson's obviously who he's going to be trying to develop, I would assume, over the next couple of seasons.
For sure.
I'm
honestly surprised he didn't... I'm surprised he didn't try to move on from Thielen. Unless he feels like he could make a run at a Super Bowl, that would have been somebody who I would have assumed Cody would have targeted pretty hard.
Yeah,
that's the kind of guy Cody likes.
Yeah, I was gonna say because they started off pretty hot, so I would have to imagine that they're like, oh, we might actually, if not win the division, at least be a lock for the wild card. So I can see why you would want to keep a guy like Thielen around for sure. And he's got Rudolph, but I'm assuming he's starting Irv Smith, which
I will look because I hope he is because
Smith is
Rudolph's 32, 33.
Yeah, Smith is 22 and he's got 86 speed, so I would hope he's starting Smith, but you never know.
Yeah, he's starting Smith. Good. Oof.
Okay, good. Smart. We got some smart GMs.
Yeah, good job, guys. Don't
Carlos
start
Charleston
your old players.
Is his legacy player at left tackle, and I think that's actually the guy that I traded.
He was
my guy
center.
that I traded for, or that I drafted, and I traded him
and
to get the number 1 pick
and got
to go
Nick
get.
Wall.
Yeah, and everybody made fun of me. And then
it was a bad pick at first.
At the time,
it looked real bad.
It was not ideal. But going from normal to X Factor is probably my proudest achievement.
Yeah.
Not making the Super Bowl. It was deving Nelson Wall that much.
I
when
agree,
when you lose the Super Bowl in a pick six, you don't really like to talk about it.
Right.
James Jones for the win. Yeah, God, I hated James Jones. That dude was a menace. I hated playing him 2 times a year. Outside of his legacy player, the offensive line is just blah. I mean, Brian O'Neill is young. He's only 24 at 79 overall. Does he have normal dev? Yeah, he's at normal dev, so he's not going to dev too terribly much. But if he focuses,
he's got elf line and he's got defense, okay guys.
Yeah, the defense is where this team really shines, especially with bringing over Yanni. You saw
Danielle Hunter and Jan.
which I feel like Danielle Hunter has been in the league for 10 years, and he's only 25 years old. It just doesn't make any sort
He's
of
another
sense.
guy.
Yeah.
His linebackers are kind of old.
Yeah, Anthony Barr has finally graduated from the Madden bump, where people are like, hey, maybe this guy's not that good.
Right.
And his corners are young. Like he's starting 3 23-year-olds, which is good. That's what you want to do.
But they're just not very good.
No, they're not.
But
they're all super young. So I mean, they'll dev a little bit.
And his safeties aren't getting any younger either. Harrison Smith is 30.
Harrison Smith, another one you could argue if you kind of was like, if he wanted to tank, Harrison Smith could have gotten him a lot as well, even though he's 31. I mean, he's still a 95 overall. He's going to be good for the next 2 seasons. So that's somebody he could have gotten a good bit amount for as well. And he's got his first this year, his third. He's got 3/4 and 2/5, so that's good. He's going to get some depth guys. I would imagine using those on corners, maybe linebackers as well. Let's see. Other than that, I got nothing else on the Vikings. If you want to move on to Vince and the Lions,
Vince. Hopefully he loses some more games so he can move on from Matt Stafford. Yeah. I like Stafford. I like Stafford, but he's not gonna. He just doesn't get it done in Madden.
No, he doesn't. Only 6 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. But what's funny is he threw 3 touchdown passes against me earlier this year, so half of his touchdown passes came in one game. He's completing 69% of his passes. He's doing a little bit of dink and dunking as well, only averaging 7.2 yards a carry. But for me, what's the most surprising about the Lions is their rushing attack. Like, they're dead last in the league in rushing yards per game. And they have... Carry-on's an Auburn guy. So I'm obviously going to defend him. And then DeAndre Swift, rookie. He had a nice career at Georgia. And as somebody I would have thought would have played a little bit better in Madden. And the receivers are just... He's got Galladay. He traded Marvin Jones to Cody for...
He technically has Amendola, but I had to move him to punter, so he was suspended for a game.
So that's not. It's not great.
But Amendola is 34.
Yeah, he's got Hawkinson, Hawkinson's had a nice year. Let me go back and check. Yeah, for a tight end, it's not terrible. 29 interceptions, 258 yards, and 1 touchdown. So you'd like to see a little bit more there for sure. But coming off that injury, he hasn't played terribly. And then Vince's offensive line is. Oof. Oh, Ragno.
I think it's a theme though. It's one guy on an offensive line and then a bunch of just trash. With the bad teams. Vince says he's keeping Stafford unless he gets Lance or Fields. Well, that's what I mean, Vince. You need to lose some more games so you can have a top 3 picks so you can guarantee you get one of those guys.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would. I don't know.
Because there are teams like same thing with Big Ben where somebody might trade a mid-round pick for Stafford. Which in this draft, if he could get a 3 for Stafford, he could go get a second receiver.
Corb just posted mid-season reports in content.
For the rookies.
Yeah, let's see. Cam Akers, Rookie of the Year, and it's not even close. Well, I'm glad got some unbiased reporting going on here, J. Corb. I like it. Let's see what else he says. He says Tyler Huntley, super overrated. Doesn't understand. why he's that good as a 5-4
No,
record.
He says Cam Akers is the second best rookie in the NFL right now in his report. Because clearly Jonathan Taylor is the best rookie in the NFL right now.
Bingo.
700 yards rushing and another 300 receiving.
Yeah, I'm just kidding, J. Corb. You did a good job. We appreciate that content. Deshaun Hand is still young enough for Vince to where, if he does get Dev, if he can get to superstar and get a pass rushing move, that could be really nice for him moving forward. He's got rookie Julian Okara.
I'm
sorry.
It's Okora.
Yeah. Danny Shelton, who's whatever. Jamie Collins, who is out here.
The only linebacker on his team who's any good. Vince needs some linebackers too.
Yeah,
he's got young guys at middle. But
poor Gerard Davis. He was when he was a rookie, Madden had him at a 79 or 80, and he just has not panned out in real life
yet. I think he's been injured a lot, so that doesn't help.
Yeah, that's true. Vince is set at corner. I know you said that on State of the Franchise. He's set there, isn't going to have to worry about it. Both safety spots, I don't know. Tracy Walker has star dev. Again, if you can get him to superstar, maybe he might become something. But other than that, just blah. It's okay.
Yeah.
And then he's got, obviously, his pick. He's got 2/3, 2/4 this year. 2/3 and 2/6 next year. So he's got a decent amount of picks coming up. And, maybe if he doesn't get top 5 and all the quarterbacks are gone, maybe he's a trade back candidate as well. Or maybe he just takes, best player available. Maybe he takes that left tackle from Oregon.
Yeah, Sewell. He could take Sewell. He could take he with the trade of Flowers, he could take the end from Miami. Could be a guy who he looks at.
Yeah, for sure.
He just needs to stay away from drafting any corners because that's a wasted pick.
Yes. You want to move on to the Bears?
Let's go to the Bears, the worst team in the NFL.
This is the worst team I've ever seen. This team is
crazy.
Bad.
Crazy. Their defense should be able to carry them to.
Yeah, I'll say this. This is the best tank job in the league, and it's not particularly close. Mitch Trubisky is exactly who you want if you're trying to tank.
Right. I don't think it's fair to everybody else because we can't all have Mitch Trubisky.
Right. I mean, he's 1,300 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 12 interceptions.
My God.
Yards per attempt is 5.8.
Oh, Mitchell.
Yeah. But what's he's actually he's averaging 7.8 yards a run. And he scrambled a good bit. He only has 1 rushing touchdown this year so far, but I was really hoping he'd have more so I could say he had more rushing touchdowns than passing touchdowns. But he's also got David Montgomery, who I like. He might be one of those guys who's better in real life than he is in Madden. He's got Cohen, who's whatever. And
yeah, Cohen's a guy who's better in Madden than he is in real life.
Yeah, Robinson, I'm surprised, is still on this team past the deadline. I kind of expected him to try to move on from Robinson, and I think he probably will in the offseason.
Another Cody guy who I could have seen Cody take.
Yeah, and I think he drops a good amount of balls as well. At least he did when I played the Bears. So I could see him moving on for sure. And then, let's see. He's got Graham, who I really hope he's not. I actually don't think he is starting. I think he's starting.
No.
Which that would make sense. Yeah. And his offensive line is actually not terrible. Out of the bad teams that we've talked about, he's probably got the best offensive line. Out of the bad teams, that's something that he can look forward to. I guess.
He's got that to hang his hat on.
Yeah, and then the defense is like probably should be better, but I have a feeling they're bad because they're like in real life the Bucks last year. Like their defense was actually pretty good, but because Jameis turned over the ball so much,
they had to be on
they just had extra possessions. But
Right.
I feel so bad for Khalil Mack. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he traded Mack in the offseason to try to get
Khalil Mack has
another.
been the most traded player in NFLGM history outside of Mike Evans.
Yeah, 100%. And he's got
And
Roquan.
you're welcome, Mike.
Yeah, he's got Roquan, so he's going to be around a while. His corners are pretty good. You know, he's got J.C. Jackson, who's nice. Jalen Johnson, a rookie, who's nice. And then Kyle Fuller, obviously, who's getting a little older.
Right.
Eddie Jackson, who's still going to have some good seasons. And then, you know, Gibson Jr. is, you know, whatever. He's not going to be there much longer. Yeah, he's got... The Bears have their first, a third, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh this year, and no first next year. So, if I was him, I would really try to maybe unload Mack for picks, and maybe some of the older, like Mack and Robinson, for picks, especially in this year and next year's draft, just to try to kind of refill that war chest a little bit. Because the young guys he has now, I imagine, are going to be on the team for the long haul, and it's not like he has to win right away. Like, if he gets the top 3 pick and gets Lawrence or Fields or Lance, like, that's going to be his QB for the rest of Madden, more than likely.
Right.
So I would think he has a few years. So if he has any older guys like Mack and Robinson that can get him some value now, I would probably go ahead and try to unload them.
Yeah, for sure.
Former elite Colts tight end Mike Evans.
Yeah. Well, I traded Mike Evans both Maddens in the first year.
Yeah, I tried to trade for Mike Evans in Madden 20, and I got outbid. And I wish I would have, because I was gonna put him at tight end, but I think Chris was offering something crazy.
Yeah,
I guess not crazy, but more than what I wanted to give up.
Yeah. I don't think Spaz was trying to tank. I think Mitch Trubisky forced him to tank because he did trade Cody for Jackson before the season. So I think he adjusted well to turn this into a tank job. But
yeah, I agree as well.
If he could have kept that second round pick, that would have been huge for him.
Yeah, it would, but if he trades Robinson or Mack, I mean, he'll have a lot more. I mean, I could even see him getting something for Akeem Hicks as well. I mean, I know he's 30 and 88, so he's probably going to be like an 85, 84 next season. I feel like you could still get something for him. If you could still get something nice for Kyle Fuller, not a first, but you might could get like a second or third or something like that for Fuller, and it's not terrible.
Right. All right, now to
I'm done
NFC
with this division.
South.
I'm done with this division. Get me out of here.
Ooh, so the Falcons lost today, I think, to the Broncos. So the Broncos moved to 2 wins, and the Falcons moved to 5-4. So
Congrats,
that game wasn't finished.
Broncos.
That game was not finished when we were on the AFC West, but it is now. So technically the Bucks are leading this division. So we'll start with them.
They beat me today on account of Jameis Winston's 3 picks and 2 fumbles. So congratulations, Twinkie.
Twinkie has not made any moves yet, which is not very Twinkie-like.
It's not. I have to wonder if he wanted to win a Super Bowl this year with the roster he had, but also not sacrifice future draft capital. Because if Tom Brady retires this year, then he's going to have, I don't know what he's going to do. I can honestly, if Twinkie wanted to continue in win now mode, if Brady retires, I think he would be a prime candidate to trade for somebody like Matt Stafford that we mentioned earlier, because he's not going to get one of these top picks, and unless he wants to give up, like who on this
everything,
who on this Bucks roster, like if you had the number one pick, like
there's nobody that I would. It
would take a lot.
Like maybe a Godwin, a first, and a second, but that's too much to give up.
Right.
You know?
For sure. Yeah, I'm just going through this roster right now, and it's like, I mean, if it's not one of the receivers, I'd probably rather have Godwin just because he's younger, and that fits more, my personal timeline. But other than that, I mean, he's got Devin White as well, who is just an absolute monster.
But he's only got star dev this Madden, so...
Yeah, which I think he kind of got gypped. But I'll point out, Twinkie also has 2020 Nflgm MVP Sean Murphy Bunting on his team.
He does have Murphy Bunting.
Yeah, that dude, for me, he played better than Andrew Bell. And it, wasn't that close. No offense, Cody. But... Bunting, Bunting was awesome.
Bunting just, he didn't fit my timeline, or what I thought my timeline was, and then I found Hunter Trainer, and it was like, oh, I really could have used Bunting right now, but I went out and got Trey Cross, so I can't complain. But back to Twinkie, he's got the oldest quarterback in the league, so he's got to start preparing for the future without. And like you said, he could be in on Matt Stafford. I don't know how Twinkie feels about Stafford.
It's just if
Twinkie won a Super Bowl with Jared Goff in 19, so he can.
Yeah, I still don't understand that. Yeah, and he's got Ronald Jones is a guy who plays pretty well in Madden. Like he ran all over me earlier today in our game. Like, he has over 600 yards and 6 touchdowns, averaging 4 yards a carry, which is what you want. And then he also has 23 receptions on the year. So that's not terrible for a running back, especially one like Jones, who isn't necessarily known as a pass catcher. And he's got good stats. He's got 91 speed and 92 acceleration. So he's good. And then obviously when you talk about the Vikings, you got to mention Evans and Godwin, the two-headed monster at receiver. So he's going to be set there for a long time if he wants to keep him. And then Gronk, of course, who I'm curious to see what happens with Gronk after this season, because he's 31, so he's going to regress, but by how much? And then his offensive line is it's fine. Outside of right guard, who's got Austin Ryder, who's a 69 overall. Nice. He's, it's just nice. It's okay. He's got Tristan Wirfs, who's a rookie, so that's good. And the defense he's got JPP, Ndamukong Suh, Vita Vea, who is an 87. And I feel like he's been hurt his entire career.
Yeah.
His legacy player is Antoine Crawford, left outside linebacker, who looks pretty good. Levante David and Devin White is really nice. Although White's hurt right now.
And then Shaq Barrett.
Shaq Barrett, yeah. And his DBs are pretty good. He's got two Auburn guys in this DB group with Carlton Davis and Jamel Dean. And Carlton Davis picked Jameis off twice, which made me feel pretty good. So I didn't mind that. Is that Antoine Winfield Jr., who I would have to imagine is going to be at least not discussed. If he's not on first team all rookie, I would be pretty surprised because he's had a really nice season at that free safety spot.
Well, Brandon Jones is getting that free safety spot. We don't have to talk about it anymore. I'm overriding everyone.
Cody says never
So
forget that Bell was my third best corner. Yeah, Cody had that crazy drafting streak
Cody,
where he had like
yeah, of corners,
yeah.
three corners in 3 straight years who were all X Factor or superstar. It was nuts.
Yeah. He's also got Jordan Whitehead at that other strong safety position, and he's okay. I mean, 23 at 74 overall. He's got normal depth, so he's not going to really do much more than that. But the nice thing for Twinkie is that he's got most of his picks this year. He's only missing a 6th-round pick, and he has an extra 4th from the Chargers. So that's going to be a pretty much a late 3rd for him. So that's going to be nice. Yeah, Twinkie could do. Oh, also got 1, 2, 3 7th-round picks, and he's got the Chargers first next year. That could be interesting.
Who did he give up to get the Chargers first? Oh, OJ.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh man, that might be a disaster, depending on how the Chargers are next year.
yeah.
Twinkie could theoretically, if Brady retires, he could theoretically tank next year
Yeah.
and have 2 really good firsts and get a quarterback in next year's draft. That's okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, you want to go to the Falcons?
Yeah, let's go to the Falcons. I'm done with Twinkie. Twinkie, top 3 G or top 5 GM. But he's won multiple Super Bowls. I'm not worried about Twinkie.
No. Yeah. Side note: when I chose the Saints, part of the reason was like, well, so I ended up I had Vince and Blair and
Lucha.
yeah, Lucha in my division last year, and I mean it was competitive for most of the year, but I was like, okay, if I choose the Saints, like the Falcons aren't super attractive. Like obviously Tampa is a good win now team, and then the Panthers suck. So I was like, nobody's gonna want to pick the Panthers. And I ended up with Twinkie and Kevin in my division. And I was like, that bites. I was like, this is gonna be terrible. And then Oscar, who's done a really nice. We're about to talk about it, but Oscar's done a really nice job with this Falcons team.
Yeah. Pretty much everybody we brought over from Doug GM is a really good GM, so it's going to be competitive this season in a lot of divisions where people may have thought they were going to get somebody who wasn't as good. Bringing in those Doug GM guys is going to change a lot of it up.
Yeah. Matt Ryan, the sliders have not hurt Matt Ryan. He's got 18 touchdowns, 8 picks, completing 78% of his passes, which is crazy. Probably, I can't remember, but I know if Matt Ryan's not the leading passer in the league, he's definitely top 5 or top 3. He's had a real nice season for Oscar this year. Definitely, let's see how Gurley's done this season. Probably pretty well because Madden tends to like Gurley. Yeah, Gurley's has almost 600 yards rushing, 5 touchdowns, and 4.2 yards a carry. So I mean, this Falcons offense is just humming right along like it is in real life.
You should look at his backup because I think his backup is a guy who's getting a lot of catches.
Ido, however you pronounce it.
Yeah. I think he's a guy who had, like, when I looked yesterday, I thought he had something like 40 catches.
How about he's up to 62 catches now?
Yeah. I knew it was
crazy.
something really, really ridiculous because I was like, oh, is he not starting Gurley? And then I looked at Gurley. I was like, oh, no. He's just, somehow he's got Ito Smith out there enough to steal 62 catches. So,
yeah, and combine those 62 catches along with, Julio and Ridley, this offense is just really, really nasty. I'm a little surprised Madden didn't give Ridley superstar dev.
yeah.
I figured he would be a prime candidate for it. He hasn't done too much this season so far in Madden. He's only got less than 400 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns, so he's done okay. But when you have a guy like Julio, let's see what he's doing so far. I mean, yeah, there you go. Julio, 47 catches, 800 yards, and 9 touchdowns. There you go. That's why Calvin Ridley is struggling from our point of view, struggling.
Right.
He's got Delaney Walker. His tight ends are pretty old. Like Hayden Hurst is the youngest of that group at 27. So I wouldn't be too
Right.
surprised if Oscar's starting Hurst, but I'm not sure off the
I
top
would
of my
hope
head.
so, but yeah, he
Yeah,
signed Walker though. So,
yeah, that's true. And boy, this offensive line is bad. Like
yeah, they're not
really
good.
bad. And how now I'm a little, well 5-4. That seems about right with this offensive line. And then
And I don't think his defense is that good outside of a couple guys.
yeah, yeah, he's
A
got
Grady Jarrett.
Grady Jarrett. Like Dante Fowler can be okay. Like
Right.
and Grady Jarrett is good, and then the rest is just. I mean, Deion Jones is fine. Like
Yeah.
he's pretty
Deion.
good. And then he's got Chris Harris and Trey
Oh.
Cross. So that's
he
so that's
inherited
nice.
Trey Cross.
Yeah, so that's nice.
You're welcome, Oscar.
And then Keanu Neal. So he's got like the foundations of a good defense, but he
Right.
just doesn't have all the pieces just yet. Let's see. He's got his first this year, but he only has a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So he's missing that second round pick. And I don't think unless Matt Ryan just completely falls off a cliff, like they're going to be competitive for the next couple of years. So I can't see him trying to tank. And I don't think he would try to. I don't think he's a seller either. Like I wouldn't sell any of my good players if I was Oscar, and I don't think he's going to.
No,
unless
Oscar's
something happens next year.
Right. If he starts out, 1-5, 2-5, he might sell, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. I'm done with the Falcons. Solid team. Probably going to make the wild card.
Let's look at this Saints team. That's probably going to make the wild card too.
If you made it this far in the podcast at the hour 37 mark, you can pick it back up at the 3-hour mark when we've moved on to the Panthers. So
let's just start with the picks. Let's
okay.
Jameis doesn't matter.
He's
not gonna start for you unless you don't get a quarterback next season, So you have 4 first rounders?
5.
5 first rounders.
I have Washington's, my own, Dallas's, Arizona's, and Seattle's. So
one of those picks is going to be good.
Yeah.
And we'll get to Washington later.
Yeah, but either my pick or Washington's pick is going to be, like, both those picks are probably going to be, Washington especially is going to be good. Mine could be good if I miss the playoffs. And then
yours could be.
And then I have like 3 Super Bowl contenders picks, like Dallas, Arizona, and Seattle. Like, obviously,
I think both.
Go ahead.
I think both Arizona and Seattle make the playoffs.
I do too.
Spoiler alerts.
Yeah. And then I have 2 seconds, 3 thirds, 3 fourths this year, and I have 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and 2 thirds next year as well. So plenty of picks for the next 2 seasons, which is exciting. Jameis is whatever. He's fine. Like this year, I'll say this last game against Twinkie was like honestly his first like just terrible. Like when you think of Jameis Winston, like his first Jameis game. Like even with his bad game today, he's almost 1,700 yards passing, 7 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, completing 69% of his passes. Nice. Fun fact, he has 292 rushing yards, and that's a career high for him. And we're like, just over halfway through the season. So that's
go Jameis.
That's pretty cool. And then running backs is like Murray and Montgomery. So those guys, Montgomery's been okay in the passing downs. And Murray's been, it's like they're just fine. Like they're fine.
Right. Neither one
And
of you. I would imagine you're going to look at a running back in the draft next year
Right.
or this year. Harris, Etienne, Hubbard. One of those guys will be a Saint probably.
Oh yeah, one of them. And the receivers, it's all about Michael Thomas. Sanders, I haven't played Sanders that much because I'm trying to dev Deontay Harris because for some reason he has superstar dev because he's a good returner.
Right.
And he's played okay. Thomas is top 5 in receiving yards, so he's Michael Thomas. You don't really have to worry about him. Tight ends, it's Jared Cook, Josh Hill, and Adam Trotman. I was going to play Trotman, but his stats really aren't good. Like, he's only 23, but he's only got 80 speed. So I was like, I'm not going to play him anyway. I'm probably going to draft a tight end, so I didn't want to dev him anyway. So I don't really care about that.
Right.
The line is, I lost a lot trading Ramczyk and Teron Armstead, my bookend tackles. So those guys are like Nate Soldier I signed off of free agency. Andrus Peat, Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz are both young. And I'm, focus training both of those guys. So those guys I'm hoping are going to be around for a while. And then defense is really starts and ends with David Bowen, my legacy player. He got superstar dev a couple games ago. So he's going to be
nice.
Yeah, he's going to be, I'm hoping, a really nice pass rusher. He's not good against the run, so he's kind of a one-trick pony in that regard. Sheldon Rankins has had a nice season, but he's 26, so I don't really know if he fits my timeline or not.
Right.
And linebackers are whatever, not terrible. Like Demario Davis, I could have shipped off to a couple of teams, but I had bigger trades that I wanted to get done, so I ended up just keeping him. So just breaking news to everybody else, I'm not re-signing Demario Davis, so he's going to be available. So if you want to trade him in the offseason, let me know. And then at corner, it's Marshawn Lattimore and everybody else. Janoris Jenkins has played really well for me. He has 2 pick sixes on the year. So that's been a nice surprise, but he's not, he's not a guy of the future. And then Antoine Bethea and Malcolm Jenkins. Jenkins was the other guy, like I could have traded to a couple different teams, but I would have gotten like mid-round picks for him, and I was trying to get other stuff done.
For sure.
Yeah, but that's kind of it. 4-4 right now.
Right in the thick of the playoff race.
Yeah.
Not where you want to be when you're tanking, but...
Yeah, thankfully for me, I have a tough schedule coming up. We mentioned it before we went live, but I play Chris next week, and I play Oscar twice in 3 weeks after that. And I think I get the Broncos in between those Atlanta games. So
and the Broncos with their second win. So
yeah, and I'll probably be back in the tank race the next time I ride it before too long. So we go into I guess that's the NFC South. You want to go to the West?
We're not gonna skip. We're not gonna do Kevin like that. All right, I'll summarize the Panthers. They suck, and Kevin, Jalen Hurts will never be a good quarterback, ever. Like, no matter how much you want it to happen, draft a quarterback.
So this might shock you. I'm going to push back a little bit, just a little bit. I kind of liked what I've seen from Hurts. What really sucks is that he has normal dev. So unless you get really lucky,
right?
Like what?
It's not that Hurts couldn't be a good player.
Yeah.
But
what really hurts is he's going to miss out on the all-rookie team. That's where he would have gotten his dev. So that really hurts. But, I mean, Hurts lit me up when I played Kevin a couple weeks ago with his legs. Like he was running all over the field. Like his passing is okay, but I think part of that has to do with the scheme and playbook that Kevin is running.
Yeah.
But I think Hurts has a chance to be like okay, but I would still take a QB. Obviously, he's got McCaffrey, so McCaffrey has not been involved that much this season. Like he only
I think that's another thing you can chalk up to that playbook.
Yeah, I agree. He's got less than 500 yards and 2 touchdowns, only averaging 3.7 yards a carry. But we're just going to chalk it up to the playbook. He also has over 350 receiving yards, so that's not terrible.
Right.
For that playbook, but I expect him to bounce back more next year. Receivers, Kevin is set. I feel like he's got a really nice trio in DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Curtis Samuel. All those guys are pretty young, especially DJ. And they're all fast too, like 95 speed, 94 speed, 93 speed. So he's set there. And then I'm assuming he's starting Ian Thomas as well. He's got,
I would hope, yeah.
Yeah, he's got 83 speeds. That's pretty good for a tight end. But the line is Greg Little's young at left guard. Radis is 30s, whatever. The line's okay. Like, it's not great.
It's another one of those where it's better than most of the other bad teams.
True. Yeah, that's true. Brian Burns, just absolute monster on that defensive line. Yep. Like, he had 7 sacks his rookie year. He's already got 6.5 this year. So, just an absolute beast. So, he's only going to get better. I wouldn't be surprised if he got X Factor down the road. And then Gross Matos, his rookie, another just stud, already has star dev, has a really, really good chance of making the all-rookie team.
For sure.
He's already got 6 sacks as well, and Kevin said he's starting he's starting his rookie tight end, DeGuara, which that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Good for you, Kev. Way to be a smart GM. It really sucks that Derek Brown
has been hurt.
Yeah, he's been hurt. That really sucks because all the sims I've done, like Derek Brown, pretty much always turns out to just be an absolute monster. So hopefully he can have a nice end of the year. Let's see. Whitehead is whatever. Shaq Thompson's whatever. Jermaine Carter Jr. is whatever. And then his secondary is okay. Like Dante Jackson is your number one corner there in Carolina, which is that ideal? Probably not, because he's only 83 overall. But like I imagine Kevin will bring somebody else in as well in the draft.
If he doesn't get a quarterback, expect Kevin to take Surtain.
Yeah, and then safeties are okay. Ronnie Harrison is still young enough to where he could get dev and be good. And then Trey Boston is whatever. And in terms of picks, Kevin has his first, second, and he has 2/3 this year. And then he has his first, fourth, sixth, and seventh next year. So, I mean, he still has, like, I would argue he could get 4 starters. Like, he could draft 4 starters in this year's draft for sure. Especially, I would say, if he truly does believe in Jalen Hurts, which he seems like he does, then he's another one of those prime trade down candidates as well.
For sure. Yeah, I think that's it for Kevin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Last one,
on
last
to the
division,
East.
The old West.
No, we got one more. We got the East.
Oh,
still.
the East. Oh, wow. Sorry, East.
And then the West, and we'll be done. So this is a tight division.
Yeah.
Technically, Washington's still in it. Miraculously, like if they were in any other division, I'd say they'd be out of it. I think the Cowboys win this division, though.
Yep, I would agree.
Good for Zach being 4-4 though. Somehow,
Yeah, we'll get to him. You know,
But let's start with the Jim Reaper.
yeah, Jim is also one of those good GMs. He had a nice early run in Madden 20.
No,
And he was
late.
always
Late.
yeah.
Jim didn't come in until late.
Oh,
He
that's
took
right.
over
Who
for
is
the
Durs?
Jets. Yeah, Durs had a really good run
That's
early
right.
in Madden, and then uh, injuries and stuff took over his team at the end. But yeah, Jim
Right.
was the
That's right.
Jets, took over the Jets, and did really well at the end. Was a Super Bowl contender the last 4 or 5 years of Madden
That's
20.
right.
So
My bad, Jim. He's got Dak, who
don't kill him, Jim. Don't kill him. It was a
yeah.
mistake.
Yeah. um Vince says send the draft. Who says no? Not me. I'll leave it at that. Uh Dak has been okay. You know, he's got superstar dev, which makes sense. I think
I guess.
I mean, I feel like you kind of have to give it to him after last year,
Right.
even though I
Right.
think Dak is the one is going to play better in Madden than he does in real life, and also he's a Cowboy, so of course EA is going to give him dev.
Yeah.
Dak has 8 touchdowns, 11 picks so far this season, completing 67% of his passes. Hasn't rushed as much. Like he's only rushed 23 times this year, which that seems really low.
Yeah.
I
9
figured
games,
Dak would.
23 rushes.
Yeah, I mean, with
Yeah.
Jameis taking off as much as he does, I figured Dak would do it even more. Dak's taken 29 sacks this year, and that's already
Oof.
third most in his career. So he's definitely going to get sacked a good bit the rest of the way. He has a chance to break it. The record is 56 back in 2018. So I mean that definitely could happen. But when you think of the Cowboys, you think of Zeke first and foremost.
Right.
Another one of those arguments for best back in the league. He always does really, really well in Madden. Although in this one, he's only averaging 4.1 yards a carry this season with 8 touchdowns, but that's still good. That's still above
Yeah.
what you want for a running back. And he's got over 300 yards receiving, which is he's on pace for he might break his receiving record in a season. We'll see how that goes for Zeke. But receivers are good. You know, him and the Broncos, you could argue, have the best young receiving core in the league with Cooper, Gallup, and Lamb, who Lamb also has superstar dev, which is something that is a thing, not necessarily what I would have done if I was EA, but he does play for the Cowboys, so it does kind of make sense. And to be fair, CD has had a decent year for a rookie. 361 receiving yards, 1 touchdown, so not terrible. Tight end, none of these guys you get really excited about. I don't know which one he's starting. I imagine he's starting Hunter Bryant, who's the rookie. But I'm not sure. Then the offensive line, Armstead from New Orleans is locking down that spot, and I'm assuming he moved Tyron Smith to right tackle. Or center potentially, because Joe Looney is there right now, and he's a 69 overall, so I could see that as well. Oh yeah, he's definitely moving to center because Lyle Collins is an 87. So that line is, boy, that line's the best in the league for sure.
Yeah.
He's got Cam Jordan, also from me. You're welcome, Jim. Who's just had just a stupid year so far. Already has 11.5 sacks. So he's doing really well with him and DeMarcus Lawrence on that line. That's just and Everson Griffin as well. Oh my goodness, that line is nasty.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, he's got a really good offensive line. Or defensive line.
Yeah, shocking.
And offensive line.
Shocking Sean Lee is hurt. Shocking Van Der Esch is also hurt.
Oh, jeez. Who would have guessed?
Yeah. Jalen Smith is good. You know, he's kind of gotten off that Madden bump as well a little bit. His defensive backs are fine. I think With Jim, his big thing is pass rushing. So when you have an elite pass rush, you don't necessarily have to have a really good back end unit. He's got Haha, who's, well, I think he might be starting his legacy player, Khalid Cates. He could be starting him. Yeah, overall, really, really good team. Obviously, he's not going to have a whole lot of picks. He only has his 7th round pick this year,
Jim.
and then his 2nd, 5th, 6th, and my 7th next year. So, but he's planning to win right now. So when you want to win now, that's kind of what you got to do. So his team is set for
a few seasons. Three, 4.
Salary cap is what's going to get him.
Yeah,
eventually,
he's going to have to
feel
make
like.
some cuts.
Yeah, because you can't pay all these guys. But yeah,
No.
Good job, Jim. Sorry about forgetting that you went to the Jets. All these Maddens tend to blend in after a while. But you want to go to the Giants next? I think.
Let's look at Zach. He was the Giants to begin last year.
Yep.
Traded away Saquon Barkley in one of the most baffling moves ever.
Yeah. And AG
promised me he wasn't gonna...
I traded for Barkley, and then I also traded Barkley a few seasons later. So I did both. So he has Bridgewater, which I think he thought Bridgewater was going to be like Trubisky and like help him tank, and that just hasn't really been the case.
I don't know, because he signed Bridgewater and he had Danny Dimes, who definitely could have tanked for him.
Yeah, and like the scary part is like Bridgewater has played pretty well. Like just under 2,100 yards passing, 8 touchdowns, 8 picks, completing 65% of his passes. That's not terrible. Like that's in the better half of the league right there.
Right. He's obviously got Saquon, so.
Yep. Let's see how Saquon is doing this year so far. 660 yards, 4.4 yards a carry, 6 touchdowns. So he's doing Saquon stuff. 253 receiving yards. So he's good. Like he's good. He's being Saquon. The receivers, outside of Darius Slayton, are they're okay. Like Golden Tate,
Sterling Shepard's all right.
Yeah, I imagine he'll address this in the draft as well. And he does have Evan Ingram, who also I feel like has been hurt his entire career, and yet he's an 89 overall. So don't get that.
Madden loves him.
Yep. He's got Andrew Thomas at left tackle, the rookie, so he has a chance of dev, I guess. We'll have to take a look toward the end of the season. But other than that,
is he only a star? Because I thought he was star.
Yeah, he's
okay.
star.
For some reason.
Yeah, so I mean, if he does make that first team and get that bump, he could be pretty good. But other than that, like Zeitler is old, and then the rest are just not good. He's got Dexter Lawrence on that defensive line, who's still one of those guys who's still young enough to where if he gets dev, he could be pretty good. Like he's got 4 sacks this year already. He only had 2 his entire rookie season, so he still could potentially get dev. Leonard Williams is, whatever.
Nothing to write home about with Leonard Williams, but
and his linebacking core is not great. He's got he won Logan Ryan in the Oh wait, no, that's the one we did.
No,
that's the one we had to do.
No,
like post launch, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's right. He's got Bradbury, whatever. Julian.
Yeah, his
Love,
corners are fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's got Xavier McKinney, he's star. He makes the rookie team, gets superstar. He's good. Jabril Peppers, who I still like. For some reason, I don't really know why. Like, he hasn't been that great. But, 24, 82, he's got 90 speed. So, he's not terrible. Let's look at his picks here. He's still got He's got all his picks for the next 2 years. So
yeah, he didn't make any moves, and he's still right in the thick of the playoff hunt. So he could get one of those wild cards. Although I kind of think that 2 of those are gonna go to the next division we're gonna do.
Yeah,
in the West.
Yep. I have nothing else to say about the Giants. Good job,
Zach.
Zach. I guess, but also you're bad at tanking, but you might make the playoffs.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
All right, now on to Ryan and the Eagles.
Yep. Ryan, has a potential sponsor opportunity for the next episode of.
I saw that
the tank race, and I'm going to leave it at that. We'll see where that goes.
I want to see Ryan the negotiations when that gets done.
Yeah, so he has Wentz, who does not deserve to have superstar dev, yet here we are. Has not had a great season, 6 touchdowns, 7 picks, just under 1,500 yards passing, completing 72% of his passes. Not great.
So Dinkin and Duncan his way to victory.
Or, yeah.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised if he tries to trade Wentz in the offseason. I'll tell you what, though. He's got Miles Sanders, who already has over 600 yards rushing and 5 touchdowns and is averaging 4.5 yards a carry. He's only got star dev right now, but I could see that. I could see him getting superstar in the next couple of seasons, especially if there's some injuries to some guys. It's tough because you're always going to have to go against guys for the all-pro teams like Zeke and Saquon and Dalvin Cook. So that's tough. But if there's a year where there's a couple injuries, he could potentially get that superstar dev. Receivers are pretty gross. He's got brick hands himself and Alshon. Deshaun Jackson is somehow still in the league. And then he's got Rager, the rookie, who has 93 speed. So I would hope he's focused training him.
I would imagine, yeah.
So he could be good. He's got Ertz, who is still good. I'm a little surprised he wasn't more of a seller at the deadline. Like, you could have gotten some real stuff for a lot of these guys, especially Ertz.
Well, he did start 4-1, and it isn't,
That's true.
Like,
that's fair.
So he probably thought that he was going to run away with this division at 4-1, and
yep,
it just hasn't worked out.
Yeah, his offensive line is sneakily really good. Like, Peters, his weak spots at left guard with Samalo. And then he's got Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, and Lane Johnson on that right side. So his line is really, really solid. The defense still has Brandon Graham. Derek Barnett is whatever. Fletcher Cox, who's always a monster. And then he has Clay Matthews, which is pretty funny. His legacy player is Angelo Brinkley.
Yep.
And he's
who was a good player in Madden 20.
Yeah, he was really good. He's okay. He's tackling machine so far this year. Already has 82 tackles, so he could potentially get dev that way if he wins that.
He's not even close.
Oh, really? I haven't looked recently.
Jerome Baker has 122.
Oh, never mind, Brinkley. You had a nice year.
Sorry, Brinkley.
His defensive backs are good. Like, a 1-2 punch of Darius Slay and Casey Hayward Jr. is nothing to laugh at.
Yeah,
that's a really good duo for the next, I would say, 2 seasons. And then
they're older, but that's pretty good for a short term.
Yeah, his safeties are bad, unless he's starting rookie Kevon Wallace, which I would hope he is. But I'm not sure about.
Real quick. I'm curious with that myself, who he's starting at safety, because I looked at them and he's got some bad safeties.
Yeah, it's not great. While you're looking that up,
He's starting Kavon Wallace.
Okay. Oh, good job, Ryan. Smart. He's actually got a fair amount of picks in this draft. He's got his first, second. He's got 2/3, 2/5, and 2/7. He also has 2 seconds in next year's draft. So he's got a fair amount of picks. So if he thinks, like, if he finishes like 8-8 or 7-9, like, he could still be in a really nice spot to compete next year with bringing in some more people, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I would have to imagine he's going to target receivers in the offseason, either in the draft, trade, or in free agency.
Yeah.
So
he's got to.
Yeah. But overall, Ryan, has done a good job. I don't necessarily think it's his fault his team has lost 3 in a row. That just, it's mad, and that just kind of happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So, well, that being said, do you want to go to the Washington professional football team?
Yes, I will talk about the Washington football team, who traded a bunch of picks to be 2-5.
So I've written about this twice. They're the worst disaster in the NFL this season, and it's not particularly close. I get what you're trying to do, and again, I'm not even saying it's his fault, but because Dwayne Haskins has had a nice year. Like, he's cooled off a little recently in the past couple of weeks, but when I first wrote the tank race, the first episode, Haskins was top 10 in passing yards, and he's cooled off since then. So there is a path to where they would be getting better, but it just hasn't happened. And no first round pick this year, that really hurts. Poor Rebel.
Yeah,
that really hurts.
If you're not winning a Super Bowl this year, and you traded picks away, you're in a bad spot going forward. Because the teams with a lot of picks this year are going to get a lot of talent, and it's going to be catch up a little bit. But it was known from the start that there was going to be a custom class. So
yeah, and to be fair, if he had made the playoffs and made the divisional round or the conference championship game, and his pick was in the mid to high 20s, then you could. I would probably say Alvin Kamara is worth that. But now, you have Kamara, who's honestly had a really nice season for Rebel. Has almost 500 yards rushing, 350 yards receiving. So he's had a good year. It's just the rest of the team is bad. And he also traded for AJ Green as well. So outside of that, it's just there's not a path for him to get better currently. His tight ends are bad. Oh boy, his offensive line outside of Morgan Moses and Brandon Sharif are bad. But really, it's the defense that's bad.
Which is crazy because they have so many players on that line.
Yeah, Chase Young, who is an X factor as a rookie, which, boy, that's also something. He only has 3 sacks this year so far, but I'm sure he's probably getting a lot of doubles as well. Because the rest of the defensive line is okay. Jonathan Allen is fine. Deron Payne is fine. Ryan Kerrigan is fine. But there's no one else other than Chase Young that's at that caliber. His linebackers are not really that good.
Yeah.
His DBs are pretty good. His safeties are bad. Landon Collins is bad because of what he's getting paid.
Right.
But this season, Rebel has a second, 2/3, a fourth, a fifth, a sixth, and a seventh. He still has his first for next year, which is good. But
Yeah.
not having a current one is going to really, really hurt.
At least he got a 2. At least he still has a 2. That'll help offset it a little bit, but that's just... I feel for you, Rebel, because I'm sure you thought adding these guys was going to help, but...
Yeah, and on paper, it should have. Like, your team should not be this bad. It's just... It's unfortunate because it's just a Madden. It's just a Madden thing.
Right, for sure.
And I have to imagine he'll probably try to offload. I know he tried to trade AJ Green, and we talked about that already.
Yep.
I imagine he'll get traded in the offseason for something, and then he could trade like Brandon Sharif for something. He could trade like Brian Kerrigan and either of the Alabama defensive tackles. Like, he could get... There's a path to where he can get some picks, just probably not a current one. Unless he trades a bunch of future picks. And at that point, you're trying to... You're creating more problems.
You're just offsetting something that's going to be a problem later. You know, you're just making it a problem down the road.
You're kicking the can down the road.
So
that's it. That's it for this division. Now we're going to the West.
Now we're going to the West.
I'm really excited because this is
the best division right now, I think.
Yes,
and it's not because even J-Corb trying to tank, not working out for him. But
yeah, Jay Corbin is 6 different starting QBs so far this season.
Yeah, so the Seahawks 6-1, 6-1, probably a top 5 roster, in the league with Russell Wilson. I don't know how Russell has played this season, but I assume it's been pretty good.
Yeah, I'll look it up real quick.
But this is a team that this is one of probably, I think, 4 or 5 Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah,
like real contenders.
Russ, 1,700 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, 9 picks, completing 72%. So he's played okay. And then let's see the rushing. Has rushed 41 times for 180 yards. So that's a little lower than what his career average has been. He usually averages, about 500 yards or so rushing. So that's a little low for him. But I imagine he's one of those guys where the new sliders probably helped him more. So I'd probably expect for him to get better. And the running backs, he has Chris Carson, who had a really nice week 1 in real life. Hasn't played as well in Madden so far, averaging less than 4 yards a carry, less than 600 yards. He's getting a good amount of work, though. Has only caught 23 balls this year. But him and Carlos Hyde make a nice duo. But the receivers with Lockett and DK Metcalf, also, how do you give rookie CeeDee Lamb superstar dev, but you give DK Metcalf star dev?
Because one plays for the Cowboys, one plays for the Seahawks. So I mean...
Lockett's also star dev. To me, both of those guys should be superstar. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But those two, one of the best duos in the entire league. Tight end, he has Greg Olsen, but I imagine he's starting Disley because Disley's only 24 at 80 overall. So I imagine he's starting him. The offensive line is okay, is not good, but but Russ is used to that, so it's nothing different.
That defensive is something though.
Yeah, his legacy player. He also took a defensive end like myself and Darren Hamilton. He has 6 sacks on the year so far, so he's played well. And then he got Snacks, obviously, in free agency to go along with Jaron Reed. Bruce Irvin's still there. Wagner, 99. Really, 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 really good. KJ Wright's still there. His corners are they're okay. Shaquille Griffin is he's okay in Madden. He plays pretty well. But you really look at the safeties with Diggs and Jamal Adams on the back end. With Jamal, that's him and Derwin James, I would say, were the best two safeties in Madden 20 just because they had whatever
Enforcer.
Enforcer, whatever that one was called. Like, they both just causing fumbles everywhere. So this team is really good, and to be 6-1 in that division is just, even better. And
6-1, and I'm fairly certain they're 2-0 in the division.
Yeah.
So
Russ he doesn't have his first either this year or next year, but
yeah, that's from the Adams trade.
Yeah, but when you're a Super Bowl contender, you got to do what you got to do, and they still have plenty of picks. Like, he has 2 7ths this year to get some depth, so he's going to be a contender for at least the next, I would say, 3 to 4 years. It really depends on Russell Wilson.
Yep.
Like, whenever he really starts declining, but that really shouldn't happen for a while. Even at 31 years old. All right, so I know I think this is your favorite team, so I'll let you start.
Oh, this is
Roy with Roy in the cards.
So I was down 7-12.
Roy's been waiting 2.5 hours for us to talk about his cards.
So I was down 7-12 to the Cardinals yesterday going into the fourth quarter. It ended up 43-14.
Oh,
it was a bloodbath, and it for being 7-12, it really wasn't that close. Kyler Murray ran into a bunch of sacks, but this is a team that Matt Breida is a 95 speed, and he was getting caught at the line of scrimmage almost every single time. This front seven has so much speed that him playing Isaiah Simmons as a sub linebacker it's what everybody's doing, and it's a stroke of genius because Roy is my sneaky pick to win this Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm
right
I think that Roy. I'm curious to see what happens when Roy plays Cody, because that is a matchup where Kyler Murray doesn't make mistakes, and Cody's defense needs mistakes to stay in the game.
Yeah. Murray has just over 1,600 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, only 2 picks.
Mm-hmm.
The concern there is he's already been sacked 34 times this season, and he was sacked a total of 48 times in his rookie year. So, yeah. But I imagine a lot of that is, like you were talking about, him running into a bunch of sacks. So, but the other side of that is he's already rushed for 466 yards this year. He rushed for 544 his rookie year, so he's definitely going to break that. So there's a world where he could be like a 3,000-yard passer and a 1,000-yard rusher. And even for Madden, that's pretty insane. Kenyon Drake is hurt right now, so I imagine Chase Edmonds is getting the start at the moment. But
Drake didn't get hurt until last game.
Okay. And then but
he wasn't getting any run.
Okay.
Like, they only ran him 7 times before he got hurt. It was pretty impressive how little they were running the ball. But
when you have Hopkins, Larry Fitz, Christian Kirk, and Andy Isabella, I probably wouldn't run a whole lot either. Like, Hop is just a target monster year in and year out, and this year is really no different. He only has 545 receiving yards so far this year, but I imagine with the sliders being where they are now, that's probably going to pick up over the second half of
Yeah,
the
for
year.
sure.
And then Fitz, I've done sims where like it's usually 50-50 for me. I don't know what it's been for you, where Fitz retires after this year.
Yeah,
Um,
it's hit or miss.
but if you can even get one more year out of him and move him to that wide receiver 3 spot and let Kirk be your new number 2, this is going to be a really dangerous team moving forward. And I imagine, well, let's see. I don't know who he's starting at tight end. I guess it would be Max Williams.
It's Max Williams.
Yeah. And then Norman McDonald, he's been in the league since he was 13 years old.
That was the bet. I was
absolutely incredible. Like what an absolute unit playing in the NFL since you're 13. He's got him. That's awesome. He's got Hugh and Humphreys. Humphreys is overpaid, like you mentioned in your State of the Franchise. Ramczyk is really good. He still has this year and next year on his rookie deal, so you don't have to worry about paying him yet. The line, Carl Lawson's just is a beast. There's no other way around it. Has 4.5 sacks so far this year. He's a guy to where if he gets superstar dev, the rest of the league needs to be put on notice. Corey Peters is okay. Chandler Jones now only has superstar dev because of the PED incident. Middle linebacker's okay. I would imagine this is if you have a concern for Roy, that linebacking unit is probably where it is. Because
Jordan Hicks took a pick 6 to the house last night, so I'm not.
There you go.
Not that concerned, but it is his weak spot, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, outside of that, the corners and safeties are just absolutely dominant. Patrick Peterson's still back there. Byron Murphy is only 22 at an 83 overall, and then he's got the combo of Budda Baker and Isaiah Simmons. So Roy is set for a while. He only has a 5, 6, and 7 this year. But he has all his picks next year, and depending on how this year goes, if he either wins the Super Bowl or makes it to the Super Bowl and loses, I would not be surprised if you see Roy get really aggressive in the trade market this offseason with those future picks. Because when you're,
I think Roy is absolutely going to be aggressive because this team is really, really good.
Yeah, and I know Roy got outbid a couple of times by Cody on a couple of guys. So now with Cody not having as many picks, Roy can kind of swoop in and get some of those guys. But I'm with you. I think this team should have Super Bowl or bust aspirations. They're in the toughest
100%.
league. They're in the toughest division, but I mean, the 49ers have slumped. The Rams are trying to tank. If they can get through that, if they can avoid the Seahawks in the playoffs, then I feel like they'll be in really good shape. Speaking of the 49ers, you ready to?
Let's talk about Chris and the 49ers. Chris, number 1 GM in the league.
Well deserved.
Yeah, multiple time Super Bowl champion.
Just really good.
Like I said in that content, Lamar Jackson won, I think, every MVP that there was last season. So,
and he's trying to replicate that with Tyler Huntley, who, let's just go ahead and talk about him. Rookie out of Utah, traded for, bragged about it a little bit because he was like, I know, this guy is really good. And, pretty much everybody in the league was like, okay, well, if you say so. And all he's done is put up almost 2,000 yards passing. He's cooled off a little bit with the new sliders. 7 touchdowns, 9 picks, 66 completion percentage. But the rushing is really what sets apart Huntley from all the other really young QBs. Already has over 500 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns on the year. So he's another guy. Maybe not get to 3,000 yards passing, but if he gets there about 3,000, about 1,000 yards rushing, that's a win. That's a win for Chris, and it's been a really good pickup so far.
Yeah. I mean, he's had a 4-game slide. I want to look at who he's played in these 4 games because I think it's just been a tough stretch.
Yeah. While you do that, I'll talk about his running backs are good. He brought Frank Gore back, which I really enjoy, to San Francisco. He's got Mostert, who's good. Coleman's good. It's like the rushing attack really kind of revolves around Huntley. Last time Mostert has almost 700 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns, so that's a really nice 2-headed monster for Chris.
Yeah, so outside of this strange loss to the Rams, it was a tough stretch at the Pats, at Seahawks, and then against Will. So
okay, yeah,
I imagine he turns it around going forward.
Yeah, his receiving core is really, really young, like probably the youngest in the league. You have Deebo Samuels is number 1 at 24. Bourne's 25. Pettis is 24. Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State is 22, the rookie. So he's got a really nice young group. And, of course, he has Kittle. He's got Trent Williams on the line. Outside of that, he's got like some high 70s. Cordy Glenn at right guard is whatever. And then McGlinchey at right tackle is really good. His legacy player is Quan Crawford, the left end. So let's see what he has done so far this year. Okay. Only 1 sack, 10 total tackles, so hasn't done a whole lot. But, I mean, when you have Nick Bosa and Armstead and Kinlaw on your defensive line, like, you're probably not going to get a whole lot of run, not to mention D Ford and Fred Warner. So I can understand that. Here is where, not this season, but in the next 2 or 3 seasons, I imagine Chris is going to address in some sort of fashion, is his corners. So he's got Sherman, who's 32, still a 92, who's had a good year, and then Aqib Talib, who's 34. So that's his top 2 right now. Like I said, this season's fine. He's got a really good pass rush, so the back half of the defense isn't necessarily as much of a concern, but at some point that's going to catch up to him, and he's going to need to address it. So, and his safeties are okay. Like, he's got Jimmy Ward, he's pretty good. Jaqueski Tart is okay, and then for picks, he's got his 1st, 2nd, and 2 4ths, 5th, 6th, and 7th this year, and then all his picks next year. So he's got a nice amount of picks. Like, that 1st is going to be okay, especially for a custom draft. You know, he's going to get somebody good. Wouldn't necessarily be surprised if he took a corner in the 1st round.
Oh, no.
Either that or offensive line, I would have to imagine, because he's set pretty much everywhere else. This team is really, really good. Chris has done a really good job with this squad. And Huntley is right now top 10 for MVP, and he's 1st for NFC Offensive Rookie of the Year. So
yeah, and I would imagine if we did all rookie team right now, it would be Huntley at quarterback. There's just no way around it.
I agree. So Huntley is only going to get better. So Chris's team is going to be really, really dangerous. And so now we save the best for last with Jay Korb and the Rams. A surprising 4-4 Jay Korb team who I'm not going to say came out of nowhere in Madden 20, but winning multiple Super Bowls with the Chargers was honestly pretty incredible.
I was surprised because Korb was in the league for a few seasons at the end of Madden 19, and he never really could put it together. And then out of nowhere, a few seasons in, he starts just dominating the AFC West. So
Yep.
good for you, Corb. I was surprised. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, he's starting
So,
a whole bunch of quarterbacks, including Goff, Deshaun
Yep.
Kaiser, and me, you,
Nate Stanley.
Cody.
Yeah.
He's got Fournette, but really Cam Akers is the guy, and we mentioned it earlier, but Akers has had a really good season. Like, I know he's only averaging 3.6 yards a carry, but like J. Cord mentioned in the chat, leading his team in rushing and receiving, that's no joke, especially at 21 years old, 21-year-old rookie. He's got star
Right.
dev, so if he's focus training him, Cam Akers has the potential to be really good. Receiving core is, it is what it is. Like, it's not good. Like he's got
No, but
Marquez
he
Valdez
traded.
Scantling and Denzel Mims.
He traded both of his starting receivers and then traded the guy, and I mentioned this in the trade committee. I was really surprised. Van Jefferson was who I thought was his best receiver when I played him.
Yep.
And he traded that guy away too. So,
But to be fair, if you're tanking, you really need to go for it. And to Jake Ward's credit, he's really going for it, and Madden just won't let him. Won't let him. He's got Higbee and a rookie Bryson Hopkins at tight end. I imagine he's starting Hopkins. We'll see. That's what I would do. His line.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Yeah, his line is it's okay. Like a lot of these lines for bad teams, they're okay. I believe Gross is his legacy player, Nathan Gross. That sounds right. He's definitely
that's his legacy.
Focused, yeah, he's definitely focused training him. He's already a 78. So he's going to be really good. Other than that, his line is bad, but that's kind of what we come to expect. He tried to trade Samson multiple times. I don't know if he really got any bites or just didn't get anything that he wanted. But
Yeah.
still has Donald and Ramsey and Brockers. And I mentioned this in my first tank race content that I would really look at trading Donald and or Ramsey just because I don't think either of those players are going to fit J. Corb's timeline. I think he's going to be a team that if it were me and I was J. Corb, I would try to tank the first couple of years and start to be good like in maybe about 3 or 4 seasons when the Seahawks and the 49ers are getting older.
Yep.
If it were me, because like that division is going to be rough all year long. Like there's no way around it. And J. Corb has some really nice players that he could get a lot for. Like Ramsey and Donald each could get you multiple first and seconds easy, even with a custom draft class. So if I was him, that's what I would probably look to do. Terrell Burgess is starting rookie free safety has had a nice year. I wouldn't be surprised on the rookie team. Let's see what his stats are so far. Yeah, he's got one.
The other thing about
yeah, go ahead.
The other thing about Donald and Ramsey is they can single-handedly win you games, which is part of the reason that his tank is not going as well.
Yep. Oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, hey, I heard that.
Shut up, dummy. We're almost done. Tyler Rapp at strong safety, another pretty good young player. 22 at 77. He's got star dev. So if either of those safeties can get dev, he could be pretty good. He's got 2 firsts this year. His first and along with the Jets first. So we'll see where those end up. He also has 2 thirds this year along with a second. He's got a... Hey. Come on now. We're almost done. And he's got his first, second, and 2 thirds and 2 sevenths next year. So he's got a good amount of picks.
he's pretty set.
Yeah.
So.
All
right. That's every
that's
team.
It.
Yeah, and
2 hours 34 minutes later, we're done.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll try to do this
and I'd
again.
break down.
Yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah.
sorry.
We could look at the playoff race, but really in the AFC it's so muddled, and I think it's like that in the NFC too. It's going to be an interesting finish.
Yep. I think we'll try to
season.
do this again, like maybe before the playoffs start, just to take a look at the playoffs. Maybe do like a playoff breakdown.
Yep.
And then maybe try to do like definitely do one like end of season. We'll include a bunch of stuff, and then try to do. I don't know if you'd want to do like a.
Oh, I definitely want to do a mock draft
sort of thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be good.
Yep.
All right, guys. Well, if you all stayed with us for the entire 2.5 hours, I don't know why, but we appreciate it. We're also
I'll upload it
this.
to YouTube.
Yeah.
To YouTube, and I'll try to. I'll go through and look and find time codes to put in the YouTube link to what time you can listen to your team specifically. So
there you go.
All
right.
All right.
Well,
thanks for coming in and doing this. It was a lot of fun. So.
Yep.